Welcome to St. Joseph Media Network. I'm your host today, Peter Karutz, and we are with Ambassador Michele Bowe and Mike Heck, who was the Catholic Man of the Year. Mike, what are we going to talk about here?
Yeah, I think we need to talk about acceptance and love of everyone. You know, Jesus made us all in his image and likeness.
Well, that's easy to do, isn't it?
Well, sure. I mean, just think about politics, right? Everybody loves each other,
of course.
Right? The guy on the street who looks different than
Absolutely.
me, sure, I love him just like me, right? You know, has a different opinion than me, but he's still fine, right? When we take all this, I think, Peter, from just our own local community, and we hear about all the division and feel all the division and all the tension in the world because of differences. You know, God made us different. It's okay to be different. He wants us to be different. He wants us to love the same because we're all made in his image and likeness, but differences should be celebrated, but they should also be respected, right? And we've talked about this. This is what our faith is, right? So you take that from a local perspective and take it to a global perspective, and you go to some place like the Middle East. Right? Well, it's difficult for us to maybe understand that at times, right? We hear a lot of things from depends on what news source you listen to, right? As to how you think and believe about different things. That's not who we are as Catholics. That's not who we are as Christians. That's not who we are as members of the Order of Malta. Our position is to help all get to heaven, to be saints if we can. My wife's working on that for me. Well, it's not working sometimes, she says, but she's working at it. But to serve each other, to serve the sick and the poor, right? And that's what we want to do, no matter where it is in the world. At this point in our history, right, there's a lot of different feelings about different kinds of people, okay? The Order of Malta, this hospital, maternity-only hospital that we have only 1,500 steps from where Jesus was born, is in Palestine. We should be supporting Palestine. It's not that we shouldn't be supporting others, but we can't think badly about Palestine because right there you have Muslims, Christians, all working together at our hospital there. They work side by side. They're friends. They're together. Why wouldn't we be friends elsewhere? With whatever the differences happen to be from race or creed or whatever it happens to be. It's a great melting pot still.
And as Catholics, we don't judge people, we judge actions.
Right.
But it's easy for you, Mike, sitting here, talk in such a magnanimous fashion, but Ambassador Bowe, you are working in an area that is, I don't like to use the word challenging, but in crisis almost. But you are still living that goal.
It's my joy, my responsibility, my privilege, and my honor to be working, serving the people of Bethlehem, the Palestinians. And I think there's a universal fact. I don't think anyone in the world could not smile with joy at a photo of a newborn baby.
Yeah.
And of course, now I'm a grandmother. We have 4, and everybody loves to share their pictures of their grandchildren. And every child is beautiful in our eyes, but in the eyes of God. And so at Holy Family Hospital, we're delivering almost 4,000 babies a year. Some are Muslim, some are Christian. Our staff is an ecumenical staff. At our Catholic teaching hospital, we practice Catholic medicine, and our service providers, our nurses and midwives, are Muslim and they're Christian. 71% of our staff are women, and we work together in service to the most frail and vulnerable. And among the most frail and vulnerable in the world is a pregnant mother about to deliver a baby. She needs the most tender, loving care to be accepted. A newborn baby that's healthy needs very good care. But what about the newborn baby who's born at 14 ounces, 17 ounces? I mean, they need sophisticated equipment. They need the very best care. And that's exactly what we do at Holy Family Hospital. And I'll have to say, my first 3 grandchildren were all born premature.
Oh, wow.
And they needed some really intensive care, and they were on the west coast of the United States in Santa Monica at St. John's Hospital, a wonderful hospital. I was there every day for 2 weeks with the twins. And let me tell you, I noticed that the care at Holy Family Hospital is exactly the same at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica. A child born in Bethlehem at the Order of Malta Hospital has the exact same chance of a full life as a child born in wealthy Santa Monica.
I'm shocked. I would be shocked. You would be shocked. I was in the Middle East. Mike and I, we both went to a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. But that's shocking to expect world-class maternity hospital in that part of the world.
I'll have to say,
it's shocking.
I would be completely happy for one of my premature grandbabies to have been cared for there. And as a matter of fact, when I was so worried and praying for my daughter-in-law and praying for the babies, when I picked up the phone, I called Bethlehem. And I spoke to the doctors there. And when I was there and they were telling me, and I was sending them pictures, and they're like, everything is placed properly. They're doing it exactly right at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica. And so you just see. And, having an ecumenical staff is so beautiful because in Bethlehem, we celebrate 3 Christmases.
Oh, I think I like that.
And we have the Roman Catholic, or as we call it, the Latin Christmas. We have the Orthodox Christmas, and we have the Armenian Christmas. And Christian families are married together, so often they'll celebrate 2. And of course, everybody wants to be with their family at Christmas. And we know here in the United States, we really have to sacrifice and work on holidays when it's needed. But in Bethlehem, the Muslims gladly step up. They'll work those 3 Christmases. The Christians can have off. They can celebrate. And during the month of Ramadan, the Christians are stepping up and giving the Muslims a little bit of a break or a shorter work day. And so it's just so easy between the people. And what I really love are these shared celebrations. If you're ever in Bethlehem in December, there's the Feast of St. Barbara. And the tradition for this feast is to make a special pudding, and it's called Barbara pudding, Berber. And one of the kitchen workers makes it at home and decorates it beautifully with all these little colored fruits and candies. And it's to be shared with everyone. It's specific for the Christians to share this with the Muslims. And so everybody is looking forward to it a few days before, waiting for their delicious Barbara pudding. And everybody loves St. George. Everybody celebrates St. George. Did you know that St. George was born in Palestine? He was born in the town of Lud, which is up by the airport near Tel Aviv. But he was a Palestinian saint, and everybody loves him. Saint Elijah. There's so many commonalities, and when these 2 faiths have lived in the same neighborhoods, just all together, and our Catholic schools in Bethlehem partially survive because of the Muslim students who study and also pay tuition. There's fewer than 6,000 Roman Catholics left in Bethlehem because of emigration, because Christians normally have 3 or 4 babies, Muslims have bigger numbers. And so we gladly welcome our Muslim brothers and sisters to our schools, and they get to understand the Catholic faith, our teachings, how we do education. Everybody loves a Catholic education, and it allows us to have our schools function. And so in Bethlehem and in all of Palestine, they pride themselves on what they call a mosaic society. All the little tiny pieces come together to make a beautiful whole. And what would a museum or a church mosaic be, for example, without the color blue? It would be flat, it would be missing. And so in Palestine, that's what the Christian community is. They are maybe the blue. And they refuse themselves to be called a minority community. And they say, no, we're not the minority. We have the holy places. They're ours. We're few. And the president of Palestine he always comes to the midnight mass in Bethlehem. And at that midnight mass, he said, the Christians are like the salt of the Holy Land. They aren't so many, but they're absolutely vital to our society. You can't eat food without salt, and you cannot have our society without this mosaic nature, including the Christians and the different Christian sects and the Muslims all together. And that's what we are at Holy Family Hospital. It's a little bit like the heavenly Jerusalem. Every type of person working together in care for whoever comes and presents themselves for help.
I think this is a wonderful outcome, but where does it come from? You know, the world has strong feelings right now as to who's right and who's wrong, and there's a lot of presuppositions. I know when I went to the Holy Land, I came away with the conclusion of it's confusing. But I imagine, I don't have to imagine, I remember seeing it. You see the maternity ward, and you see all these little babies. You know, we all come into this world naked and poor, and you see these children, and you can't pick out which one is Jewish and which one is Muslim and which one is Christian. Why? Because they teach us what we all should believe, and that we're all children of God.
Absolutely. And you can't see who's a refugee, who comes from a poor family, who's a Bedouin. Children of God. And there's one thing that everybody can gather around, and that is the care of a newborn baby, a warm embrace, love, nurturing, a baby to be fed and loved. A baby is the embodiment of future, of hope. There's nothing more hopeful than a new baby or a job. I remember when our children first got their first jobs, how hopeful that is. 220 jobs at Holy Family Hospital with training and advancement abilities and great employment for women. That's hopeful. Our scholarship program, it's hopeful. But again, a baby is the embodiment of hope. And I told the president of Palestine when I presented my credentials to him that I firmly believe that the individual who will be responsible for peace in this region will have been born at Holy Family Hospital, hopefully already been born. And you know what he did? He pointed to a woman, a young woman who was in the room, who was working for the government, and he said, I bet it will be her. And she is a young woman, not as young anymore, but still young, who was born in one of the local refugee camps, was born at Holy Family Hospital, but her family lived in a local refugee camp. And she went from being an aide to being the vice minister for foreign affairs, and now she's an ambassador serving. And I think that she is just rising up in this world. And I actually believe that having some women, more women at the negotiating tables will bring that feminine ethos that will help us be able to negotiate a peace, a lasting peace with reconciliation. Peace, hope, and reconciliation. That's what we're about at Holy Family Hospital. And each baby we look at and we think, could this be the one? Could this be the one who brings us peace?
Well, I think the one thing that our Lord was a contradiction. Yeah. And he brought people together with love. And I think that that's what your hospital is doing, and doing it in a generational fashion. The love that is expressed and shared to these children and their mothers and their fathers, hopefully, and I think we can count on it, will translate into love being expressed to other people over generations.
And the greatest of these is love.
Yeah.
Well, with everything that's going on in that part of the world today, as you said earlier, there's always been some conflict, it appears to be. But it's rough now, and there's difficulties with just feeding people, housing people, taking care of people, and there's all kind of things that we're doing through the Order of Malta to provide that for the hospital. But again, it's all about just trying to give them hope.
And what Pope Leo said just very recently, and I pulled up my phone so I could read it, it's so important. He says, the Christian East can only be preserved if it is loved. And so Holy Family Hospital and the Order of Malta working in Bethlehem is faith in action. It is the delivering of concrete love through healthcare, through scholarships, through poverty alleviation, through delivering a 15-ounce baby and eventually putting it into the mother and father's arms so they can go home and show their neighbors. What greater love is that?
There you are. Whenever you hear the word caritas, now you know what it is.
Ubi caritas.
Yeah, it is faith in action, love in action. Ambassador, thank you so much for sharing this with our listeners. And Mike, good to see you here. Could you give us the website once real quickly, please?
www.birthplaceofhope.org.
I guarantee you will be smiling when you go there, on the internet or in person. We'll see you next time.